kämen nun zum letzten Referat. Wir haben viel gehört von Plattformen, von Crowdfinancing. Die Frage ist, was ist mit den Banken? Da gibt es Ideen, wie das in Zukunft aussehen könnte. Eines ist das Open Bank Project, das uns Simon Redfern, CEO Technical Solution Berlin, vorstellen wird.
Okay, hello everybody. Hello. It's definitely hot, isn't it? Yeah, my voice, I sound a bit like Darth Vader. It's because I went clubbing last Friday night. I got into what's supposed to be the best club in Berlin. Bergheim. Okay, so welcome back. So, firstly, I'm Simon Redfern, that's my Twitter handle thingy. I'm CEO of TESOBE. We're a small tech company in Berlin. We're working for various startups, providing programming services, and so on and so forth. And Open Bank Project is kind of, so far, non-profit project, but we put quite a bit of effort into. So I'm going to talk about bank as a platform, innovation, I guess, transparency as an asset. So okay, let's think. If we think about banking, we think about security, right? I mean that's what banks kind of say they're all about. But what do we really want to protect? Things we cherish. So I'm the second person to mention his son, I guess that's mine. I'm Dominic, he's 3, and I definitely want to protect him. Information is some binary information. We want to protect that in general, right? Property. This is the headquarters of Société Générale in Paris, where we visited a couple of months ago. Biological diversity, etc., etc. So, and also, of course, money. We want to protect money. Maybe even something special like the crown jewels. So, this is a shop display in Harrods in London a few months ago. Right, so let's add some security then. Some highly secure Windows system. Maybe this is at my kids' kindergarten. Or maybe some Linux servers would probably be a bit better. Maybe something in the cloud. Okay, but all this kind of security kind of doesn't make any sense if something like this happens. A tsunami comes in. Imagine a tsunami coming into a data center. Then we got something like this. General destruction, chaos, and fair amount of suffering. And I guess that's what's kind of happened in the last few years with the current, you can't really say current because it's just an ongoing crisis of various financial proportions. We've had accounting scandals, Enron, etc., banks failing, corruption, and so on. And it's like a bit like a tidal wave. I mean, lots of people are affected. Okay, here's an interesting book I discovered a month ago, and it's really a good read. Actually, I've only read the first 100 pages or so, but I think I pretty much got the message. Why Nations Fail. And it's talking about extractive economies and extractive political systems. And it's basically debunking these theories, or quite serious theories about why some countries develop and why some countries don't develop. So, but what he does with the authors, what they do is they look at South Korea, North Korea, right? Same people, they were the same people back in 1950 or whenever it was partitioned. Same geographical area, same resources, same temperature, because there's this myth that, if it's hot, you can't be a productive country or whatever. So he looks at North Korea, South Korea, whatever. Also he looks at, I think it's Nogales or something like that. It's a city on the Mexican-US border. And the north of the city is, so much more prosperous than the south of the city. And what's the reason? Well, just they're operating under different institutions, different political systems, different economic systems. So, and it's very difficult to kind of jump between, for these extractive systems to break into a non-extractive system. And what does an extractive system mean? Basically, it means that lots of money goes to people, there's a disparity, lots of money goes to people that don't really deserve to have that money. And so there's a big rich-poor gap. And he talks about that capitalism is, it's often been said it's kind of the best system we've got, but it should be, needs to be moderated, and that's why the Monopolies and Mergers Commission in the UK, for instance, is a good thing. But those type of institutions, those type of structures take a long time to kick in. So, for instance, Microsoft was engaging in anti-competitive practices for a long time between the US government said, hey, we're going to fine you. But they did, which is a good sign of democracy. Okay, so this is another good book. Also, I read about the first 100 pages, or 200 pages maybe. And it talks about how basically these secrecy jurisdictions, tax havens, and so on, how they subvert, they subvert democracy, because democracies need taxes to pay for all the services that you and I and our children and their friends make use of, and with tax havens and secrecy jurisdictions such as Delaware, for instance, in the States, money gets squirreled away and it doesn't support the democracy. So actually, the Bitcoin thing is really interesting, but I guess what's going to happen is that Bitcoin will in the end have to be taxed and should be taxed, because taxing is necessary for democracy. Right. So, and we're all connected. So I was lucky enough to go up in an airplane, a private, two-seater thingy with a friend of mine who's also a programmer. And so this is above Berlin, or near Berlin, the lakes around there. And it's just showing that the lakes are connected to each other. It'd be nice to have a swim right now. Okay, and this is Berlin, 1945. And my point is that we, as kind of privileged, happy, healthy, educated people, we can probably do with sacrificing a bit in terms of maybe in privacy or etc., so that others can benefit, and so that we can have a really healthy democracy, and so that we can spread democracy and kind of healthy capitalism to other nations as well. Because on the global scale we are all connected. So okay, back to the Open Bank project. In 2005, I don't know why, but I was thinking about corruption and war, and I just thought about a new type of bank where all the bank accounts are open for everyone to see, which is kind of the bonkers, crazy idea that started the Open Bank project. And then I let the idea kind of rest for a while. And then I was in Greece, in Athens, writing some music for a theatre production, because I'm also a composer. And I noticed these funding boards around the city saying, hey, funded by the EU, funded by the EU. And I said to the step designer, that's really cool. It's getting all this investment here. And she said, yeah, but Simon, there's so much corruption. And 2 years later, we know what happens to Greece. And yeah, and it's really, really a serious trouble, obviously, in Greece and probably Spain as well. So, yeah, so out of these kind of, this kind of context, the Open Bank project aims to attack kind of two problems. One is this problem about financial distrust, corruption, fraud, and financial malpractice. And secondly, that banks are not very, they don't really open up to Web 2.0 practices and APIs. And the solution is really quite simple. It's by introducing a sliding scale of privacy and disclosure and using open source. And yeah. So a little bit more on corruption. It's like really, it's really a big problem in Europe, and it's recognized as a problem. And it basically attacks democracy. So there have been problems with charitable corruption scandals, like money being used for things it shouldn't be used for on a big scale. Every time, I mean, just look on Google for charitable or charity corruption and scandal, and you'll find something new every week. Aid money is going missing to the tune of billions of dollars. So much so that the World Bank set up the STAR initiative to try and get some of this money back, because money is going into faraway places and then going swiftly probably to some Swiss bank account or some Cayman Islands bank account, etc. So and corruption is, if you think about it on a local level, it basically breeds inequality and distrust. Because if your country is really corrupt, I just came back from Cameroon, which was kind of interesting experience. Why are you going to pay your taxes? Because the taxes are just going to be, they're not going to be used probably for a very good purpose. So therefore the state has no money, or not enough money. It can't invest in education, etc. And so the cycle carries on. So one of the main ideas of the Open Bank project is basically to give the public financial debug tools. So if you're a doctor and you want to find out what's wrong with a patient, you get a stethoscope out, or you put them into some kind of heart scanner or whatever. And if you're a programmer, you're using tools like a debugger. This is just a simple debugger that works in the browser. Actually, it's called Firebug. Anyone can use it. And so we want to apply these possibilities to financial information on the transaction level in real time or near real time. So. The idea is that greater transparency leads to greater empowerment. And we know this to be true. Transparency International, who looks at this, these type of questions, they have a corruption index, and they show that the greater the transparency in the country, the lower the corruption. So another main idea of the Open Bank project is that financial privacy disclosure doesn't have to be like a strictly on-off thing. So, like, you don't have access to my personal bank account right now. And, okay, fair enough, and I do. But what happens if I want to give my accountant access to my bank account? So, it shouldn't have to be just an on-off thing. So, for instance, here's me. The little red dot shows down in the left corner, shows that I'm not sharing it with anyone, and I've got all the details. But if I want to, for instance, share it with my accountant, I should be able to read access to my accountant without him having my username and password to my account. And that I can't do right now. What about a company who wants to practice open book accounting? So the company wants to give access to maybe just to all their accountants easily, to real-time access to their bank account, or their shareholders, for instance. This would tie in with, what was the project called? Share. That's it. Yeah, it would tie in with that, for instance. So that maybe, and it probably ties in with crowdfunding platforms, because all the funders could get access, could get read access to the transaction data. And NGOs or charities or publicly funded institutions, they are funded by the taxpayer or the donors, and so the donors or the taxpayers should have access to the data. Okay, so another main kind of prong or purpose of the Open Bank project is that banks are so far not very Web 2.0. Well, what do we mean by that? Basically, you have to use the tools that the bank provides to access your data. Like the bank's web application to access your bank account. But Twitter, Flickr, Google, etc., all the big Web 2.0 players, they all offer APIs. So that application developers, geeks basically, can innovate and write applications to consume the services and the data on behalf of the person logged into that account. That's what an API does. It kind of breaks the local monopoly of the company, and it allows other people to compete with this data, but with under the terms of the service owner. So basically, Twitter says, well, okay, you can call this data so many times a day, but if more, then you have to pay for it, etc. So they're still the gatekeepers. So this is the idea of bank as a platform. So the bank has all this valuable data and valuable customers, and it can basically say, hey, other companies can leverage that to the benefit of the bank and their customers. So here's a little graphic, basically at the bottom. It shows the bank's internal system, and then the Open Bank project system sits on top of it with some kind of connector software, and then we expose like a standardized, easy to use RESTful API. And then the customers can use different applications which are built for it, and services. So what can you do with an API? Well, all sorts of things really. So here are just a couple of examples which might come to mind. So the Open Bank project web app, I'm going to show you that in a minute, briefly. But then something below the bottom left, I was giving a talk in London a couple of months ago, and as I got down off the stage, two Norwegian guys came up to me and said, hey, this sounds so great. We wrote this really cool PFM, personal finance management system. Look, you can tag things, you can search things, you can see all these great graphs. And we tried to sell it to a Norwegian bank, and they just weren't interested. So if the bank supports, like if an American bank supports a good API, or a German bank, or a French bank, then these guys could plug into the API, and then they've instantly got a whole bunch of customers. And the bank's got happier customers because they've got more choice, pretty cheaply probably. Top right is a French company. They are a peer-to-peer funding platform for social projects, and they want to use the Open Bank project to be transparent with what's happening with this money. And bottom right, Money Bunny is an app written by a guy who's now a friend we met via the Open Bank project, and he's basically combining the bank transaction data with emails from vendors such as Amazon, so that you can tag, that 1,000 euros is for that Canon digital camera. So you can automatically tag your bank account. And these are just examples of of innovation. The point is not the actual specificity of the example, but just the fact that there is innovation. The innovation is going to happen quicker and faster outside of the bank's kind of IT department, basically. Just because the bank's IT department are probably busy. Okay, so a little bit of technical do-do-do, but I'll just explain one thing in the middle of the tick box. And the idea is that once the Open Bank project is plugged into a bank, then the banking customers will just be able to do tick, and then they enable third-party services, basically. So we're using programming language called Scala, which is it's a good new language. It's compatible with Java ecosystem, but it's type safe, it's scalable. I'm using a web framework which is based on that called Lift, which is very secure out of the box. All the code we've written is open sourced under Apache license. And why is that? Why is transparency an asset in terms of code? Well, it's an asset because the world's application developers can critique the code, they can find bugs, they can contribute new features, and and so on. So we're all about transparency. So here is the public view of our business bank account. We kind of have a plan A and plan B with the Open Bank project. So plan A is to integrate deeply with the core banking systems, and we're talking to a bunch of banks, mainly most promising at the moment are French banks, actually. And the plan B is just to screen scrape the data, and so we can show it. So we are grabbing this data from our Postbank account in Berlin. And one of the core ideas about the Open Bank project is that different people have different views. So the public, as in you guys, can now go to demo.openbankproject.com and you can see every transaction in our bank account. But we hide some information to preserve privacy and to preserve commercial confidentiality. So, so for instance, you can see some of our vendors here, Vario Media, Redfern, and so on. You can see those guys, but you don't see the names of our clients unless our clients have said yes. So if you go to that URL, you'll see like one client is called Fuel, and that's an open source project in itself, so we display that. But we make it easy to give other users access to the data. So our shareholders, our team members, maybe potential investors, or if you're a crowdfunding platform, you might give access to everybody who contributes more than 100 euros, something like that. And we protect names of individuals with aliases. So you can see that a software developer X got 5,000 euros, but you don't know the name of that software developer. But he's always referred to as software developer X. And importantly, we provide this simple JSON API. It might look a little bit gobbledygook if you're not a programmer, but programmers absolutely love this data. They love it much. They love it much more than a web page. Why do they love it this more than a web page? Well, because the web page is always changing. It's completely covered in graphics and links and all the rest of it. And here is the raw data. So you can see the Wheels of Steel got paid some money the other day, 15 euros, and that's a bike shop. But another thing that the Open Bank project does is it allows a dialogue to occur between the stakeholders. So, for instance, an NGO could upload a picture of a building that it just spent 50,000 euros on. Take pictures, and the local people on the ground can comment on that. Okay, yeah, that was great. That's really good workmanship, or it's crappy workmanship. And actually, the company who did that is the brother of the president, and we know a company who could do it much cheaper. So it's just encouraging and facilitating a dialogue around what's going on with the finances. So yeah, a little bit in summary almost. The Open Bank project is to provide open data, open financial data, and I don't know if you've heard about the open government data programs that started in the UK, then America, and France, and they are providing lots and lots of data and supported by government with some quite interesting results. So the Open Bank project, the public data that it will expose doesn't have any. It has a very open license, so you can even take that data and resell it if you want to. And then the wider data is for authorized people who need to log in. So maybe auditors, accountants, or shareholders, as I mentioned. So we want to raise the bar of financial transparency, and we want to shake up the banking world, allow more competition. Because, for instance, if there's really cool and robust open source banking software, then it's easy for a bank to come into existence, for instance, a new competitive bank. That's me, my bicycle. And so Simply Sims at Open Bank Project if you want to follow the Open Bank Project thingy, or at TESOBE if you want to follow TESOBE. And openbankproject.com. And if you've got any feedback about this talk or the project, then you can go to this URL if you can get there. That's using another little app we've written called Polarize, which is meant to get people to say really good things or really bad things about the project. So,
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, it seems to be already late, so.
So you said plan B is scraping. So don't you think a bank will hunt you down if you scrape their online banking app without their permission?
Maybe. But then at least we can talk. Then at least we can talk to them. I mean, some banks we're talking to, and some banks. I mean, some banks you can't even reach the innovation department or whatever. So it's a capital risk. But for now, we're just using it with our data. So we haven't involved other people's data yet. But we have several kind of organisations like Parliament Watch, for instance, in Germany, wants to use it, and some other startups. So we'll sign some kind of agreement with them, and hopefully they'll speak to the bank as well. But this is definitely an issue. Whose data is it? Does it belong to the account holder? Does it belong to the bank? The bank is kind of they're potentially not so happy to let it out into the wild.
Weitere Fragen? Also, vielen Dank.
Bitte schön.
Vielen Dank an Ihnen, dass Sie teilgenommen haben.